I'll go on ahead and make sure the path is secure. For your own safety, try not to stray.
Oh, do let me know if I can be of assistance, my lord. Let's leave the fighting to the professor. Shall we? Oh, yes, of course. Well done, Sir Lancelot. Do what you do best.
Parry this! Away with you! For form! Too slow! Stay focused! Stay...
The bridge is down! Now what will we do?
Let's search for another path. This mountain is vast. I doubt this is the only trail.
That looks like a way forward.
The footing seems a bit treacherous. Please watch your step. Give it! Wide open! Relent!
God! Monsters!
Stay behind me. I'll deal with this. I think that was the last of the monsters.
What glorious form, Sir Lancelot.
It can't
is
be.
a pleasure to watch you work.
If you're unhurt, my lord, we had better proceed.
Oh, no! Away with you!
After these ranged pop-doodles, do be careful, Sir Lancelot.
Don't worry. I'll close that distance in a heartbeat. You're finished! Is this a dead end?
No. Look! A chest!
Wait, this monster. Get behind me!
A giant eyeball! I think I've read about this monster! Nazir Bonju!
Correct. Our crew has faced it once before.
Ah, such daring do, brave Lancelot!
By my bliss! What a fearsome spectacle!
Terrifying beast! A single glance and I feel frozen solid!
We'll see which is colder. Its gaze or my frost. Understood. Do not falter.
Be careful!
Perhaps if I use these ice powders, that should work. I believe we're safe now. After this, it's back to training.
Impressive! The Twin Fang prodigy does not disappoint.
Thank you, my lord. I hadn't done much during our climb, so the praise caught me unawares. Shall we check this chest? It could contain the record you seek.
Yes? Let's see what she's holding.
The young lord opened the box. A rather dry affair, as we already knew what to expect.
And here it is!
In his hands, he held a flaking tome, its pages warped and yellowed by age.
This takes me back. Once upon a winter, I sought out that very book with Ludwin's father.
And now it's been passed to me. But this...
As Ludwin flitted through the pages, his face twisted into expressions of greater and greater perplexity.
I can't read this at all. Is this some sort of code?
I suppressed the urge to take a glance myself. My duty was to protect, not translate. In the end, it was Hans who broke the silence.
If it pleases his lordship, shall I offer a hint?
Ludwin shook his head.
No, this is a trial that I must conquer myself. And on that note, I believe you are dismissed, Sir Lancelot. I thank you for your services today, and payment will be made forthwith.
Understood. If ever you need my help again, do not hesitate to call. Thus, my private escort mission ended without much fanfare. And yet, I had a feeling that our paths would cross once again. At least, I hoped that they would. There was something about Ludwin. His earnestness, perhaps, and his love for his comrades that resonated with me.
is this special request?
My premonition proved correct.
His lordship finds himself in need of your assistance once more.
Hans's voice was almost apologetic. What troubles him?
You remember the record we found on our previous trek, don't you?
I nodded. The Lord of Grossgard was searching for a family heirloom, and this record detailed its whereabouts. However, the directions were written in code, which Ludwin had yet to decipher.
He told me, and I quote, "Hans, don't you dare bother the charming and brave Lancelot over a mere trifle." But he hasn't made any headway on his own, and I've no doubt he's secretly yearning for your aid.
I looked at the butler with some confusion. Hans, I recall you saying you'd already completed the trial with Ludwin's father.
Indeed.
Then your assistance would be far more valuable than mine.
Come now, it is a butler's duty to serve his liege's best interests, and Lord Ludwin's shall be best served with my silence.
I suppose Ludwin would never grow if Hans simply led him to the answers. Better that we pieced out the puzzle together. Very well. I accept your request.
I thank you on behalf of his lordship.
Now I was beginning to grasp at the deeper meaning behind these tests. Hans took me to Grossgard. As an artist's soul is mirrored in their brushstrokes, so too is a lord's character reflected in the state of their dominion. Everywhere, you could see Ludwin's gentle touch. From the full fields, to the content faces of the farmers, to the laughter of children and adult alike that filled the air.
What do you think of our humble land?
I tore my eyes away from the bright orchards and turned to Hans. It's beautiful. It may not be large or bustling, but I've never been to such a peaceful dukedom.
I'm sure his lordship will be pleased to hear that assessment.
Suddenly, I found myself curious. Earlier, you said that the ancestral trials would teach Ludwin how to rule. But judging from what I've seen here, he is already a capable lord. What more would you like him to learn? Hans smiled tenderly, as a grandfather might when speaking of a beloved grandchild.
I should have known an avid scholar like yourself would read between the lines. Make no mistake, Ludwin is not a perfect leader yet, but it is not my place to discuss his flaws.
Then tell me this. Are his flaws related to his family's inability to fight?
Let us call it a starting thread, but the full tapestry is so much more.
I decided not to pry. I already had the information I needed to guide Ludwin through his trial.
Sir Lancelot? I don't remember sending for you.
Of course, the Lord was surprised to see me. Although friendly, I was a rogue element in a world where this man had control of nearly everything. I have come at the request of Hans. He would like me to assist you in deciphering the tome.
I see. Hans does have a knack for meddling in his lord's affairs, but I welcome you all the same because, to tell the truth, I'm getting absolutely nowhere.
I smiled, despite myself. It was nice to meet a noble who wasn't spilling over with pride. Hans beckoned me to his desk, and I leaned over the old tome.
What do you make of it? This must be child's play for a famed warrior scholar.
He looked at me with expectant eyes. I'm sorry, but I can't decipher this. We will need to enlist the help of an expert. Expectation turned to astonishment.
Lancelot, though you fight like a storm, your mind is as clear as the stillest of ponds. I can't believe you'd need to ask for assistance.
Can't you? Every second I spend on the battlefield is a second away from the library. Ludwin hesitated a while longer, but when I strode to the door and held it open for him, he sighed and relented. No one in either of our circles was well versed in ciphers, but that was a matter of small concern. I knew an information broker. Zothba put me in touch with a language scholar who delivered a key to us within a fortnight.
Well, I'll be. The clue was in the names of my ancestors.
Ludwin stood up behind his desk and stretched, and the lines of care and worry melted from his face. He must have had many sleepless nights poring over the withered pages of the tome alone.
Thank you, Sir Lancelot. I can finally read the damn thing. It's only a matter of time now until I find the sword.
It was my pleasure. I look forward to news of your success. But I already knew. Before the unearthing of the blade, Hans would come to visit me one last time. I was half right. It was not Hans, but Ludwin himself who showed up at our doorstep.
I deciphered the record, and I know where the sword is buried.
He was so excited he completely forwent pleasantries.
I know I should go alone, with Hans of course, but the tome says we must fly to Skyworm Valley, which is riddled with monsters. It's a terrible place for a lord to be made into dragon kibble.
I knew what he wanted me to say. Very well. Please, allow me to accompany you.
Really? Wonderful! I mean, only if you wish.
This must have been the flaw Hans was alluding to. Ludwin was afraid of his own power. He dreaded the responsibilities that came with leadership. The lords of Grossgard were not warriors and hadn't been for generations. They depended on their subjects for protection. But as I'd learned, Ludwig was loath to do so. Up until now, this has not posed a problem. Small skirmishes were all that troubled the peace of his dukedom. But what would happen should a great war march on his borders? Would his honor eventually spur him to the front lines? To death? The place of a lord and general is with the rear guard. There, they must order the battle and conduct diplomatic affairs. But it is hard, sitting and conversing in safety while your soldiers are risking their lives. As captain of the White Dragons, I knew this better than anyone. You feel as if every death is on your head. At last, I had come to fully understand Ludwig. If these trials, as Hans said, could help him come into his own, then I would do everything in my power to guide him to victory.
You think you know the sky and wind, but then you come to a foreign land, where unfamiliar songs on the air beckon you toward the unknown.
Catalina, where do you think this breeze is coming from?
The wind rustled Lyria's hair affectionately as she spoke. From somewhere far, far away. Much time has passed since Lyria and I escaped from the Erste Empire and met the captain in the woods of Zinkenstill. I found myself thankful that the sky has no limit, because no matter how many journeys I've made at her side, there will always be more to look forward to. Lyria and I first crossed paths when I was still a knight of Erste, and she a tool in the Empire's mad experiments on dark essence. So you're Lyria. I was appointed to stay by her side as both captor and guardian. She reminded me of a beautifully crafted puppet, never moving or speaking unless commanded. Her expression was fixed, and her eyes were bright, but cold, as if made of glass. Moved to pity, I wanted at the very least to light a smile on her face. But I may as well have been talking to a doll. I couldn't find the part of her that was alive. It wasn't until many days had escaped us that I realized Lyria was a real girl with a feeling soul. She simply didn't know how to act like one. So, I taught her to laugh when she felt joy and cry when she felt sadness. Through books and reverie, I taught her to long for the outside world. And when colors on a page were no longer enough, I took her hand and led her to the roof of the military base. The illustrations Lyria had seen were lovely, but the sky now stretching above her was boundless and so luminous that it drew forth tears. And finally, her blue eyes shone, as if they were two patches of sky lit by a sun from within her. That sun melted my heart. There, with the open air as our witness, I made her a promise. Someday, we'll sail this endless world together. I swear it. As the bond between us grew, so did the cruelty of the experiments they performed on Lyria. Lyria doesn't belong here. No living creature does. The shining empire I served now became to me a place clouded by doubt. Day after day, a battle raged within me, between the knight loyal to her flag and the guardian who wanted to set a sad girl free. Then, one day, a memory of Lyria's response on the roof broke through like a clear ray of light.
Really? You'll show me this endless world?
I had made a vow. There was no more question where my allegiance lay. I took her hand once again, this time not to simply gaze at the sky, but to leap into it. And I did it for myself as much as I did it for her.